Well, good morning. Thanks for having me. Um, this is a unusual format for me. All right, so the lip reading class is over. We just missed that, but no. This is Dr. Lowe. I'm excited to be here. This is definitely a new format for me, and what I want to do when I do these presentations, though, is I want to be interactive. I want to know what you want to know, because I can sit up here and tell you all the things you already know, all things that don't matter, all things that are not relevant, that you could watch on YouTube and more directly. I want this to create value for you and your team. And so please, anytime you have a question, a comment, an idea, hit that chat box. And Matt said he'll let me know what's going on and what the question is, and we'll work through that. Because again, it needs to be relevant information. Information's out there everywhere. If it's not relevant, it doesn't matter. It doesn't apply to us. So talking about that, let's talk about stress for a minute. There are so many different types of stress, and you hear all this stuff about stress. You hear about managing stress, about handling stress. I don't know that you can really handle or manage stress. Stress seems to be overall pretty unmanageable. What we can do is manage ourselves better within the stress. I mean, the changes that we've seen in our workspace and our life lately have been pretty big. I mean, it's going to cause stress for just about anybody. And what our job is to figure out how to help ourselves and our people mitigate the effects of that stress on their lives, on their health, and on their bodies, so that when that stress is gone, it doesn't leave a residual effect. You know, when I was in chiropractic college, I worked for a guy, and I was in this chiropractor's office, and I was supposed to change the dip tanks. I was supposed to clean the tanks and take care of things. And so what happened was you'd have this tank of water. It had 3 different tanks in, and it'd take the x-ray film in, you take it out of the cassette, you go in this, and you go up through here and go through these 3 different tanks and spit out the end and have your x-ray. That was a little while ago. I was refilling a tank, and I splashed water or chemicals on the motherboard, and it started to fire. And the fire was much bigger than what I thought it should be. And it burned up this whole x-ray processor. Now, let me tell you, when I was a chiropractic student, I was broke. I was so broke that broke looked good. If I could get to broke, I would be at a good level. So, that's where it was. And I didn't have any way to pay for it. I didn't know what to do with it. I had no idea. Uncertainty was one of the big concerns, now I look back on it, of what that meant for me. What was a big impact. So the uncertainty that people have is one of our big stressors, not knowing what's coming up next, not knowing what to expect. And just to finish that story really quickly, the guy was wise. The guy I worked with, he was wise. He let me stew about it for about a week, and then he came back after he had all the answers, after he was certain. He said, my insurance company said that I had that processor for 10 years. They would pay this, and I don't have to pay this, and I finally get a new processor on the money. So it turned out much better than I expected. But I tell you what, I was worried about what I was going to do, because I didn't have any way to remedy the situation. So when we talk about stress, there's life stressors. One of the life stressors is changing job, one of the top 10 life stressors is changing job. The change in the way that you're expected to do your job, where you show up for your job, is definitely a stressor. And all the things that are around us while we're doing our jobs. Now, I look at this picture, and I think of the lady with the 2 young kids, and I've been doing more at home lately because our office is closed. They closed chiropractic offices due to COVID virus. And I'm at home trying to write an article or read something, and there's all this extraneous noise that's not normal. And the change in and of itself is stressful. But then trying not to take out my stress on other people around me is also stressful. So those are the things we want to talk about. Now, I don't know about you, but when I get under stress, I don't feel like the turtle. I mean, when you look at that turtle, what do you think of? Does it look peaceful? Does it look happy? Does it look stressful because he's underwater? We're going to come back and talk about that in a few minutes. My wife gets stressed out because he's underwater. But I want to show you this. If you look at my picture over here on the side, I want to show you the spine, because this is how stress affects our bodies. And this is what, as a chiropractor, I focus on a lot, is how mental stress affects our bodies. If you don't believe that mental things affect your physiology, why do we blush? You know, if I get around certain jokes or certain things, or my wife says something, my face will turn tomato red. And that's a physiological response to an emotional stimuli. And so through that, we know that there's definitely a connection between the brain and the emotions and the body and the way that works. But here's your spine. Here's the front, here's the back, this is the side, and these are the nerves that come out. And those nerves come out between two bones all the way through here. And these bones, they can move. They can go forward and backward. They can turn each direction, and they go straight sideways. When they get misaligned, they tend to do a combination of things, go forward, sideways, and turn, or backward, sideways, and turn. That can pinch or put pressure directly on those nerves. Even if it doesn't, it'll wear away at these joints, and eventually it will. Now that's real important, because impulses start from the brain, transmitted down through your spinal cord, out through your nerves, and they go to all the different parts of your body. The ones up here, they go to your head and your face, so affect headaches, dizziness, blurred vision, pain and pressure behind your eyes. These come across from out shoulders, down your arms, even numbness, tingling hands, affect things called radiculopathy, carpal tunnel. These go to your heart and lungs, affect asthma, emphysema, bronchitis, the stomach, the colon, uterus and ovaries, and these go down your legs, affect pain down your legs, sciatic and numbness, tingling your feet, things like that. When all these nerves are open, everything works out the way it's supposed to. If there's pressure on that, if it gets misaligned, it will start to put pressure on that nerve. It'll affect communication between whatever part of the body that goes to and the brain, and the communication breaks down, and then things start to break down. That's one of the premises of chiropractic. But here's why that's important to stress, because if this is crooked for any reason, if it's like this, physics tell us that the short side has better leverage than the long side. Now, if you get under stress, and I've done this numerous times in my life, but one time I remember I was sitting in a violin recital. My son was 6 or 7, so I had to be behind him. We were at the chapel at Southeast, and I had to help him with the bow and all that stuff. And my other son was across the way, couldn't get to him, he was in a stroller, and every time somebody would stop, he would yell. So you'd hear this, me, 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 hey! Now, in my family, I can be loud sometimes, so I'm getting after the kids. And I was so bad to do something to stop him from doing that, but all I could feel is the stress of my spine just tightening everything up like this. When we do that, we know that, or if you're driving, you can't turn your head after you get through a city. It's because these muscles have tightened up. But if these are tighter and these are not as tight, these have better leverage, then it's going to put more pressure on that nerve that's already in danger of having pressure on it. So it'll bring out symptoms, bring out neck pain, bring out back pain, things like that. So as chiropractors, we try and straighten this up, but it doesn't take away the stress. I had a lady one time, she came in because she had some symptoms and stuff, and it only bothered her when her husband George was acting up. Now, they've been married for 30-some years, and George was quite a character, apparently. So she came in and I asked her about it. I said, so tell me what's going on. She said, oh, I got this irritable bowel syndrome, I got this pain in my leg. I don't know what to do about it. I've been everywhere. I was wanting to see if you'd help me. So I said, well, let's see. So we would work with her and found some problems right down here at the bottom of her spine. And we started adjusting that and taking pressure off of that. But before we did, I asked her, I said, so how often does it bother you? She goes, only when George is acting up. I was like, well, how often is that? Well, George has been acting up and stressing her out, for lack of a better term, for the past 18 months, 4 or 5 times a week. I don't know what he did, but it just stressed her out and affected her health and caused her symptoms come back and get worse. And so I was talking to her after about 6 weeks. I said, so tell me, how's it doing? She goes, oh, you know, I love you, sent people to you, referred people over to you, everything else. I feel so much better. My first question, how's George? Do you think after 30-some years of marriage that George changed at all? Probably not. What did change? Her body's ability to handle that stress. So we're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to even show you some stretches since I have the camera today. A couple stretches that'll help, and how you can keep your body from getting those positions and stress that will cause those problems to keep reoccurring. Is that okay with you? So we talk about the changes. We've got changes. We've got people working from home, kids, phones ringing, dogs barking, all these additional new stimuli which can cause stress. But here's the thing, and this is what some of the stuff that Tony Robbins kind of talks about, and it's under human needs psychology. But there are three interactive things that affect our stress. One is our focus, and what we're focusing on. We're going to talk about that. Physiology, we're going to talk a lot about that today because I'm a chiropractor. We work with the body, work with physiology, and language and meaning, what we put into things. So let's go through those first two things first. Focus. You know, if you change what you're focusing on, you can definitely make a difference. And one of the things we see right now is people are I find it myself, watching the news every night, getting all this information all the time that focuses on the negative aspects of human behavior, or the negative stress of the situation. What I like to do otherwise is I like to focus, try and find ways to focus on the positive aspects of human behavior. How I'm interpreting, what's it mean when the kids do this? Were they trying to do something, or are they just being kids? And so interpreting that is important. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people lately who are looking out their windows, watching the neighbors, complaining on our Woodmont app that their neighbors out there walking too close to their other neighbor. That's focusing on the negative. Well, make sure we start focusing on the positive. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said he gets every morning and reads the Bible first, then reads the newspaper. That way he knows what both sides are doing. I thought that was a great quote. So pop in the chat box for me. Tell me some of the stresses you guys have had lately, and let's put them in context. So somebody hop on and tell me some of the new stresses you've had, and let's see how we can work through this. Or maybe you can unmute you and you can tell us about that. That's okay. That's okay. Right? Yeah, and that's a great one. And that's a great one for focus because you know, we're concerned. And there's a difference between stress and concern. Now, that brings us to a point of worry. And imagine your mom's worrying, and we all are to some extent. My wife, she is a gold medal Olympic champion of worrying. She can worry about anything. She can worry enough for the both of us. I don't know if you know anybody like that. But worry is a fear, and it's based on this principle I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. Well, we'll talk about now. 80-10-10. If you go back and think about your day, you know, 80% of things you experience through the day are neutral. They're not good, they're not bad, they just are. You know, your walk from the bedroom to the kitchen. You didn't stub your toe today, it's a good day. It's neutral. You just walked, no problem. If you walked and stepped on Legos, it's a bad moment. Because if you ever stepped on those Legos, you know they'll shoot a pain from your bottom of your foot, clear up your spine, into your head, and make you scream involuntarily. So, you know, Legos are definitely something that I worry about. But anyways, we talk about worry, 80-10-10. 80% of things you experience throughout the day are neutral. Your lunch wasn't great, wasn't bad. It was just lunch. Your toothpaste wasn't great, wasn't bad. It was just toothpaste. You know, the temperature in the house, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just the temperature. And 10% of things we experience through life are good. I mean, yeah, it's better than average. We experience it's good, we say it's good, and we know it's good. And 10% is not good. Now, that's not to say that 10% is bad. 10% is not good. And there's a difference. But the 10% that's not good can be broken down into things that really happen, things we're afraid are going to happen. And when something happens, say you step on that Lego, what happens? Well, you feel the pain, it's gone, and it's over. You can worry about that for a while, and you can spend more time and energy worrying about the Lego than actually experience the pain of the Lego. So worry is self-punishment for something that hasn't even happened yet. And when I talk to people who are worriers, you know, we do this, we all do this. We think about the worst case scenario. And we go down this trail and we say, okay, so here's my worst case scenario. The governor sent us a note, said we had to close our office. Now I have all my team, what am I going to do with them? Well, worst case scenario is they go home, they don't work for a while, they're hungry, they end up getting other jobs, they end up, and all of a sudden their dog is starving on the street, and they're very, very mad at us, and there's nothing we can do about it. What's reality? Reality is we live in a great country. It has opportunities and support for people, and we have ways to support people, so that's not reality. That's fear, and fear takes me to the dog starving in the street, and nobody wants that. But worry definitely takes over and runs us way down this path. So one of the strategies that I like to use is playing a game of what's the realistic worst case scenario. Worst case scenario. Well, my team members, you know, have to find other jobs. They have unemployment for a while. They meet their bills, but they are stressed. That's reality. And we're here to help them and support them and talk with them and all the things we want to do that we can do to support them. Same with our patients. We're here for them. They can call in anytime. We'll still answer the phones. We'll answer questions. We'll do everything we can for them and help them know that they're not alone, that it's not helpless, it's not hopeless, and that we'll get through this. So that's my answer to that is worry is self-punishment for something that hasn't happened yet. And keeping your spirits up is where you're focusing on what's good. And one of the other tricks I like to use with this is my gratitude list. They say that at first 15 minutes in the morning and the last 15 minutes at night is when your alpha waves are active in your brain. And what you put in your brain at that time is what your brain processes on most of the night. If you ever woke up worried, then went to sleep worried about something, dreamt about it all night, and woke up about thinking about it, the last 15 minutes, you put a lot of stuff in there that wasn't positive. Sometimes we can't get around that. Other times, we can put positive things in. We can have a gratitude list we read at the end of the day. And that makes a big difference because we're thinking of gratitude, we're feeling those emotions of gratitude, which helps put us in a better state, one, to sleep better, and two, so that we can wake up in a good way, you know. And then we wake up, the first 15 minutes, if we focus on what we're excited about, what positive expectations we have, that sets the tone and the mode for the day to keep our spirits up. So those are 2 tips I have for that, 3 tips, I guess, 80, 10, 10, last 15 minutes, first 15 minutes, what are you talking about? And reviewing the good things that happen through the day, even the neutral things that are good because they weren't bad, okay? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those are great things to look at. So, you know, the homeschool, we've always homeschooled, but it's different. We have different expectations because we're not doing as much on that. But our kids go to what do you call that program? It's over at CEC, where they have online classes and teachers have different expectations. We're trying to help them get their stuff submitted. I understand that. I wish I had a great answer for that directly, but it is stressful. And sometimes we have to work through that stress and then figure out how to mitigate that afterwards. Let me move this next slide. So, talk about the spine. Here we go. And so, well, part of it is perspective and the meaning we give to things. Now, if you think about this, have you ever seen this quote before? Light is not the lack of darkness. Darkness is the lack of light. Think about that for just a minute. We would go caving with the Boy Scouts, and we get in this one area which you had to have your hands up, had to wiggle through in order to get through. And then you're in this big room, and there is, they tell you shelf your headlamps, and there is no light at all, nothing. If you went 50 feet to the one side, you'd fall over this edge. And if you went 50 feet and crawled under this real narrow escape, you could fit out, back out that way, and end up where you wanted to be. And I tell you what, I wanted the light. And so we look at this, light is not the lack of darkness, darkness is the lack of light. It's a great perspective. So where can we focus on the light? Where can we focus on the good things? And then the other part of that is health is not the lack of illness, illness is lack of health. The healthier we are, the better our bodies can handle stress and handle things. So I'll give you some tips on that today before we get done. Let's talk about physiology. Have you ever seen the articles that talk about the Wonder Woman pose, how it affects your confidence, and put your shoulders back, stand with your chest out, and take a deep breath in. It affects your confidence ability to do things. That's your physiology. Our emotions give us data points about what's going on, and we get to interpret that. We'll get to that in a minute. But the physiology part of it is, how's our body working? What are we putting in our body? How much sleep are we helping ourselves get? How are we getting good sleep? You know, your posture is a big part of that. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. We get into ergonomics a little more. We're going to talk about how to sit at your workstation at home, if you're using a table, if you're using a desk, things like that. How much water you drink. I don't know if you ever heard this, but they say that we should drink half of our body weight in ounces every day. So if you've ever heard that you should drink 8-ounce glasses of water a day, that's true if you weigh 128 pounds. If you're American size like me and you weigh more than that, you have to drink more water than that to help flush out all the toxins and all the things that come throughout the day. So it's a good idea to have your water bottle with you most of the time and to do that. Your posture, caffeine. I love my coffee in the morning. But we know that if we want to get a good night's sleep, that caffeine has a 12-hour half-life. So if you want to get to sleep at 10 o'clock at night, you need to stop drinking caffeine by about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then you get a better night's sleep. You don't need as much caffeine the next day. But it's one of those things that a lot of people don't know. It's a great way to affect your physiology in a positive way to handle the stress better. Laughter. It's so much fun to laugh. And we do it so little. Kids will laugh on average 500 times a day. Adults laugh on average 7 times a day. Finding good things to laugh at and laugh about, and laugh with a big roaring laugh, makes a big difference. It burns off cortisol, which is a stress hormone. It helps your aerobic capacity and stuff. It burns off cortisol, same as running for 30 minutes. Now, I don't know if you like to run or not. I used to like to run. I don't like to run anymore. And, but it makes a difference in burning off that cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And the other thing about physiology is what we're eating. Now, I know this, it's hard to focus on everything. And one of the things that stresses me out is being intentional about everything. You should be intentional about your food, about this, about that. So pick one of these things. But what you eat makes a big difference in your physiology as well. If you eat a lot of sugar, a dessert spelled backwards is stressed. So that's a good way to remember that cutting back on the sugar helps us with our long-term stress, helps us manage that stress better. Actually cuts back on headaches as well. I'm not saying you have to go keto or sugar-free, but just keeping an eye on the number of carbs you're eating will help you manage and mitigate that stress is affecting your body more. That make sense? So let's look at, let's go back to this. So this is what I was thinking about with meaning. The third part of that triangle, I want to finish that up for you real quick, was we talked about physiology, focus, and language and meaning. What we're talking about, how we're talking about it. If we listen to ourselves, we'll find patterns, and listen to those people you're trying to help. You'll find they have patterns in what they're talking about and the way they're talking about it. And the languaging is very important. You know, if you say things like, I am stressed, that's an identity. It's something you don't want to claim that too much. You want to go with concepts like I feel stressed. I am hungry. I feel hungry. I am this. I feel this. It changes your relationship with that emotional component and makes it a data point so that you can make decisions from it. Because if you've ever gotten really angry, you didn't act on the anger and throw things through the wall and stuff like you see on funny commercials and all. You didn't do that. It was a data point that you took in and you utilized. Have you ever been scared and felt like running away but didn't? It was a data point that you utilized. You didn't log into that. You didn't grab hold of that and do what your emotions told you should do. So emotions are data points, and changing the meaning of things and figuring out what it means. You know, if you ever had a car catch up in traffic and you're been mad about that car all day and the car hasn't thought about you all day, you give it meaning that he meant to do that. He did it to me. They took this away from me. As opposed to that guy's having a bad day, he's likely to get a ticket. Complete same situation, different meaning that we assign to it. So we can take those data points of how we feel, and we can affect the meaning of, and because we get to assign it, it's our history, your history. It's called history, his story, her story, her story. So those are great ways to mitigate that stress, because a lot of our stress is based on the meaning that we give to things. All right, let's talk about ergonomics. How we sit, how we stand, how we sleep. Our body's always under stress of gravity. And if you look at this top picture, this is what we know. We know we should do this stuff. And at work, you probably work to get your monitors at a certain height. You got your legs about 90 degrees, got your elbows at 90 degrees with the armrests under your elbows. If you're using a stand-up station, you want your elbows at 90 degrees. You want your screen tilted about 10 degrees so you can look down at it a little bit. And those are all great things to know. We're working on our smartphones, things like that. What happens is, if we do this for a long time, let me get this way. These muscles tighten up, it'll cause headaches. I'll end up with headaches, dizziness, blurred vision, stuff like that. It also pulls on all these muscles up through here. So this lady right here has what we're calling text neck, where she's leaning forward for an extended period of time. So one of the tips with that is holding your elbows against your side and holding it more up face level. Here you see she's on the couch. She's got her legs up in the recliner, and she's got her knees all bent and her head's all forward. Now what we know is posturally, for every inch your ear goes forward of your shoulder, it doubles your head weight. So you can go from a 10-pound head to 20 pound to 40 pound to 80 pounds, pulling at all these structures and stuff up through here, and pulling on this will cause headaches and problems. So keeping your body straight up and down is a big deal. Now here's what we normally do, even though this is what we know. Laptops are made differently than desktops. So, you know, if you have a laptop, you're not going to have the screen elevated eye level. You're going to have to move your monitor back at a larger angle, about 15, 25 degrees, and so you can keep it more where you need it to be. So those are some of the tips on working from home. I've got a checklist I can send to you if you email me. I'd be happy to send you a checklist and send you some videos to some stretches and things you can do with that. One of the stretches I'll have you guys do with me. Does anybody have any questions, comments, ideas? Is this of value to you? Is this good information? Slap something in the chat box for me if you would. Good, good, good. Great. I can usually see smiles or people's expressions. I can't see anything here. So, all right, let me show you a stretch that I think is really important, because when we pull forward like this, our shoulders pull forward and it starts to shorten these muscles up and through here. If you've ever seen The Simpsons, the comic book guy, his hands are, I stand up, his hands are rotated in like this. And that's because when this pulls forward, it pulls our shoulders forward, it puts our rotator cuff at risk. And if you're typing for a long time, your hands are like that, puts your rotator cuff at risk and affects all this. And you don't want to have that little old man, little old lady posture coming forward like this, because it affects a lot of things. It affects your ability to breathe. And I do jujitsu, and one of the things you can do, if you get somebody on the back, you pull their head up like that, they can't breathe and they'll tap out. Now it's kind of funny in jujitsu, but it's not funny when gravity does that too, because you've hooked a 40-pound bowling ball here and pulling down on your chin all the day. We want to bring it back, so we want the bones to support our weight. We want the bones to support the weight of our head and of our body as a whole. And so one of the ways we do that is we got to undo what gravity and life has done to us. So the stretch is here. You hold your hand against your collarbone. You look up and away from that hand. And you'll feel it stretch right in through here. Hold that for about 30 seconds. I can see you're doing it. You'll switch sides. Up. Hold that for about 30 seconds. You'll hold both hands like this. You look straight up towards the ceiling. And you feel it stretch right in through here. And that makes a big difference. Take a deep breath in. And hold it. And let it out. Take another deep breath in. And hold it. And let it out. You can even do this when you get back to work. People think you're crazy or praying for them, maybe both. So the other stretch is stretching these pec muscles through here. And you can do this laying down in bed. You can lay on the floor or against the wall. But what you're going to do is you're going to bring your arms back in a goal post like this. And you want your elbow to be even with your shoulder. So you're going to rotate back. I'm kind of tight and rotating forward like this. I want that back. And then I'll bring my arms all the way up to the top to touch. I'm going to bring them all the way down. Any place you find that it doesn't hold, I want you to let gravity pull that back. So it's going to help loosen up all this muscle. The pec muscle, if you go stretch on the door, whatever, you're stretching really small band. What you want to do is you want to stretch this whole band. It attaches across here and across here, and stretching that whole muscle group will make a big difference for getting a deep breath, make a difference for a lot of things. So, and for getting your posture back. The other thing is chairs in the United States are not made to keep you straight. Your spine, when you sit in the chair, especially if you're sitting back in the chair, it tends to do this. You tend to lean forward like this, which puts your head forward, puts it out like that. And a lot of our postural issues start in this low back. So what we want to do is we want to sit on these sit bones. You can feel them right underneath your seat if you're sitting up straight. And you want to have this normal curve in the low back, which lets things balance, because the spine has 3 points that hold weight. The facet joins back through here, and the disc. You may have heard of people getting facet injections or disc bulges. Facet injections right back here on these 2 points of the tripod. And the disc right here is the other point that holds weight. Now, if you take the pressure off facets, you put more pressure on the disc. So you have disc injuries. We want to make sure we use the spine like it's supposed to. One of the tips I do with that at home is I sit towards the edge of the chair. Not sitting back, not trying to use the back of the chair, but sitting on the edge of the chair kind of keeps me more upright and helps prevent that problem. Especially if you're using kitchen chairs as opposed to an office chair. So posture at work, ears over shoulder, elbows at 90 degrees, monitor just below your eyes or tilted 10 degrees. Your feet flat on the floor and your knees at 90. Posture at home, ears over shoulders, elbows at 90. Laptop, keyboard tilted 15 or 20 degrees. So you're going to have it out a little further, but it's going to keep you from doing this and looking down all day, like this lady. You don't wind up in that posture. And so the other thing is taking breaks, making sure you take a break every hour or so. To bring your shoulders back and to stretch this and to not end up with the eye fatigue, which brings you closer and closer to the screen. That's one of the problems we see. All right, that's most of what I have for you guys. We can talk more about stress. We can talk about human needs psychology and the things with that. What do you guys want to talk about? Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a stretch, and I've got a thing on YouTube. It's going to be hard to show here, but I like to do for that. But you sit with your foot flat on the floor. You put your other leg up, so you're doing the cross leg. You kind of lean forward like this. I'll do a video for you and put on YouTube, which will show you that what happens is the piriformis muscle gets really tight, and about 70% of the people, and that's one of the muscles in your butt that rotate your foot out. And you sit with your foot out for a long time, it'll do that, but it'll contract. And 70% of the people, that muscle, the nerve, sciatic nerve, runs through that. And when that gets tight, it'll put pressure on the sciatic nerve. So it's a sciatic nerve stretch. We're going to cross your legs and push down towards the floor. And that makes a big difference for stretching that out. The other is getting up and stretching the front of your leg. So I'll do videos for you on both of those. So let me make a note of that. And if you want to email me, I'll be happy to send you links to those. Yeah. Yeah, I've got my stuff from the last slide too, and we've got different stretches like the one I showed you, so you can look at it. And if you have other people you're working with and you want to share these things, please do, because we want you to be healthy while you're staying at home, and that's a big part of it. If you get numbness, that means the nerve being affected. Sciatic stretching. And we've been doing videos every day, 5 days a week, from our different doctors. We have 3 other doctors in the office, and so they're all contributing with ways to be healthy and ways to stay engaged. One of the things with human needs psychology that you guys might find interesting is there's 6 human needs. And you may have heard Tony Robbins talk about these. There's certainty, there's variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. And a couple of those have been really upset with people lately, which is their certainty and their connection. So finding ways we can connect with people is a big deal. We want people to feel connected and like they're getting something, they're part of something. And so please feel free to share any of our videos with your team, with people you know and care about, so that they can benefit from it. We're not just putting out content, we want relevant content. Tips on how to be healthy, how to feel better. What are the questions we have? Yeah, there's a question coming in. Who is that? Yeah, I got you. So you're going to have your keyboard. I've got my keyboard about a finger's width back on the table. So let me give you some measurements you can use. So if you measure your finger, look at your finger and measure to that knuckle, push the keyboard back on the table that far, so you're not having to clear up against the edge of the table. Number 2 is when you angle your your monitor, you want to give it up. So if you feel your head is going forward, then you're trying to get into a flat monitor. Like this, you can see my nose, but I'm trying to read down like this. I want to get back so I can sit here and my eyes can do the looking and not be stressing my neck and all to do that. So if I can sit here and just kind of feel it balance, just kind of find that balance spot, and then I can look down and see it without feeling like I'm stressing my eye muscles, then I'm in good shape. Does that make sense? If you want to spend a whole $20 or so, you can get a keyboard which plugs into your laptop and a mouse, and then you set your laptop up so it's eye level or just below eye level on a box. And it's more like at work. And that's what I have for my wife at home. She has a keyboard that just plugs inside her laptop and USB, and she's got a mouse. And so she sets it up higher so she can do her work without, or whatever she's doing at that time, without stressing her neck. Yeah, so those are, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you too. Oh, sure. I rattle fast sometimes. So there are, Tony Robbins says, you can look this up on YouTube, he has a great video about it, but it's part of the human needs psychology, and there's 6 human needs: certainty, variety, significance, love and or connection, growth, and contribution. Now, at a time like this, certainty has been tough for people. I mean, finding things you're certain about, because we're not certain in our office. We're not even certain when we're coming back to the office to see patients, because we don't know when that's going to be. Uncertainty can be a big stressor. So these are human needs. These can also be big stressors for people if it's not there. Everybody has a human need which is stronger for them. So some people, certainty is their #1 human need. Others, it's variety. But people have jobs and keep jobs. The #1 is not variety. So people that are, so that's the joy seeker. Significance is important human need. Connection. So if you're missing in one aspect, we want to try and make up for it with your people in another aspect. Growth, giving them things to learn, to practice, to improve themselves during this time is a big deal. And contribution. I mean, doing things like this, contributing to other people, giving, providing information, knowledge, that's contribution. It makes people feel good. And so writing letters and making masks for our EMTs, and my wife is making masks for my son who's the EMT and his crew. It makes a difference, and that's contribution. It also meets some of her needs to help out. So those are important to know and to play into how we can help people through this, through these human needs. Does that make sense? Good. So what was the biggest takeaway some of you guys had today? What were some of the things that were most value to you? Yeah. No problem. Great. Good. Well, thank you. Yeah, we can definitely go in the negative loop, can't we? Awesome. That makes my day to hear that. Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Well, one of the things that we've decided to do, and this you guys helped us come up with this idea, is we want to do stress lectures kind of like this for people who are working from home, like you. I mean, if you have a group in your company, you want us to do to go through some of the stuff with them, email me. We'll find a time. We can set up a Zoom call or whatever, and do this type stuff, and they can be separated at home doing their work, and we'll be happy to go through this with them. If we have a group of 5 or 10 people, that's all we need. If you have a group of more, that's even better. We have our general lunch and learn flyers, but like I said, this is a new idea. I can have something for you by Monday. If you email me, I'll send it right over to you. Well, thank you. Right. Remember the work you guys do, and knowing who you are, and finding out who you are. The work you do is so important. And I just got to say, I appreciate the work you do, the time you put in. That you make a difference. So keep it up. Yeah. Bye, guys. Thank you.